Welcome to Prepare For Takeoff. I'm the creator and host, Terry L. Cyrus. We're the podcast dedicated to amplifying Black excellence. Every week, we sit down with a proven professional or a rising entrepreneur. This week, we're sitting down with Charles Clayton, founder and CEO of APHIS nonprofit. Charles, what's going on, fam?
I'm good, Terry. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Man, thank you. Well, first off, please allow me to give you your virtual flowers. You're out there doing great work in the community, and your story is incredible. I definitely look forward to you sharing your story from start to finish with our viewers and listeners. So with that being said, where's home for you, man?
Fort Dodge, Iowa. We are about an hour and a half from Des Moines, Iowa, which a lot of people might be kind of familiar with, or Ames, Iowa, home of the Cyclones. We're about an hour from there.
You grew up there, correct?
Born and raised.
What was that like?
It was interesting because, again, this is I was born in the 70s, 71. So being born in that time frame in the Midwest, you can imagine there were some racial overtones. So I can remember growing up very much aware of Black and white people had differences. And sometimes those differences came to a head. But I also remember growing up just in a loving Black community. I mean, it was that you can play anywhere in the neighborhood until the street lights come on, but anybody in that neighborhood can check you. So your auntie, your best friend's mom, your cousin, if you out of hand in that community, any of them can send you home with maybe a spank behind, but they could also feed you too if you needed fed, bruh, or if you need to stay the night there. So it was a very loving environment, man. And yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
It seems like that's every Black community in America. I grew up in West Virginia, Charleston to be exact. And I think both states, Iowa and West Virginia, the first thing that you think of may not be brothers. But similar to Iowa, man, there's a pretty sizable contingency of us in the state in certain pockets. And it sounds like Iowa's the same way. So I grew up in Charleston. I guess that would be like the Des Moines of Iowa. So that's the state capital, largest city in the state, and grew up in an all-Black subdivision. Everybody knew everybody. You know, you were at each other's houses, whether you're eating dinner, whatever the case may be. But if you did something, you know, you had eyes on you. You know, she was going to tell your mom, she was going to walk you home, and you always knew you better be on your best behavior. And my dad was like, look, don't let me come home and somebody tell me that you did A, B, and C. It's going to be consequences and repercussions. So we always had that level of accountability that it seems like at some point it subsided. And that accountability that existed in the 70s, because I'm a child of the early 70s as well, that accountability, it followed us to school. And some of the things that you see these kids doing nowadays, there's no way in the world we could have got away with doing that. And we ain't even have social media, and our moms and dads knew what we was doing. So can you imagine when everybody with a phone, let alone make it home, you wouldn't be able to get out the classroom without your mom showing up.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, because mom or dad would pop up at the school if need be, or if mom was too busy, an uncle or someone would come pay you a visit. That accountability that you talked about is like, it was a beautiful thing. At the time, we probably hated it, but I look back now and it's like, that's how a lot of us made it out of that environment the best way we did, because you always knew not only do you have somebody looking after you, but you had somebody that loved you and cared for you, man. Like, it was all out of love. It was all out of caring that they weren't going to let you get too out of pocket.
Right. And for the longest, it seemed like we didn't necessarily have an identity that wasn't tied to our parents. Because my dad said, don't let me say that. Look at what Brian's boy's doing. I was like, well, I got a name. But I was out there representing him. My brother was representing him. And you felt that. Man, I can't do that, because then my dad, then that's going to land on him. And then he gonna land on me in a way that I ain't gonna, I'm gonna be afraid to go home. And my dad had the nickname that was given to him by my friends. His nickname, Charles, was Sarge. So my dad ain't play no kind of games. And it didn't matter if you were his son, his relative, or just a neighbor. You come to the house, you want to play basketball? No problem. Charles, what's your shoe size? We got some work to do. We're going to haul this wood up behind the hill first. Then after you haul that wood, come play all the basketball y'all want. He's cutting grass. He can get done a lot quicker if you help him. So he really poured into us that work ethic that I still carry today. And one of the things that I think kept me on the path and many of my other peers was sports. And I think that same thing holds true for you. So you were a part of a state basketball championship team, if I'm not mistaken, running the point. Is that correct?
Yeah, so high school I was a 2 and a 1. I get to college and played more point, but yeah, we won the championship in '88, man, and that was quite an experience. Again, only lost one game that year. New coach had moved in. Expectations were high, and I'm actually writing a book right now talking about all the behind the scenes things that happened during that season that people would have thought there's no way you could have won a championship with some of the behind the scene racial undertones that took place, some of the off the court fight and tribulations that took place. But I think that year formed my life and my leadership skills that I carry today through sports and through basketball like no other thing did in my entire life.
Mm.
Being able to tap into what it takes to be on a winning team and learn how to play your role and play your role the right way. Sometimes taking a back seat, sometimes being a leader, sometimes being a star, being held accountable by a coach and teammates. Those are all things for a winning success when you get an adult.
So after college, did you make it back home to your hometown in Iowa?
Unfortunately, yes. So my junior year, we won the championship. Senior year, first game of the year, I come out. I'm almost like Ice Cube and almost had a triple double. I had 17, 7, and 7 and tore my ankle first game of the year in the fourth quarter. And so my senior year, I'm injured the whole year, but I go off to DMAC Junior College. It's here in Iowa also. Play a year there, start every game, average double figures, but I was a knucklehead, man. I didn't grow up with a father in the home, so I had chip on this shoulder. I was a black kid from Fort Dodge. So I had a chip on this shoulder, and you couldn't tell me anything. And so I got down to college, and even though I thought I had a great freshman year, at the end of the year, the coach came and said, "You can come back, but I have to take your scholarship because not only is the school complaining about you, the city is complaining about you. Everyone in this city knows who you are. That shouldn't be the case." So again, I'm a knucklehead. I ain't coming back. You ain't giving me no scholarship. I'm going home. I'll go somewhere else. I came home, and that's right around the time, as far as Iowa, crack cocaine hit. And so now I'm in the streets as a dope boy, and I'm thinking that's going to be my new claim to fame. And I'm smoking weed and drinking and hustling whenever I can. And that all kind of came to a head after about 2 years of living that life when I found myself locked up after a night of celebrating New Year's Eve, bringing the year in by firing guns off in the air and thinking that that's the cool thing to do. And yeah, I woke up the next morning, and by 5 o'clock that next afternoon after New Year's Eve, 1992, I'm in jail with a felony and charged with about 55 years of different counts, bro. So I ended up back home, but it wasn't by choice, and it wasn't by design.
How did you navigate that? So you were facing 55 years with all of those combined counts. What was going through your head at that time, man? You're locked up, you're a young man. 1 minute you're on the court, now you're in a 6x9 jail cell. What was that like?
So I give credit my upbringing, just a lot of strong uncles that I grew up with, strong mom. I had a stepfather that was in the home by now, and really I think grounded me with like self accountability and like I knew what I did was wrong, even though I think some of the charges were a little trumped up. But at that time, Reagan had his war on crime and the New York Six, and we're going to make sure that we really stamp out. And the crack cocaine sentencing laws were all in effect. That even though I think some of that was trumped up, I knew that I need to take accountability to go from a basketball scholarship to a jail cell waiting sentencing within a year and a half, 2 years of time. That I just was grounding myself that whole time and really taking accountability of this too shall pass. And when it does, what am I going to do with my life? Like, I wasn't really afraid of anything at that time. It was just, you shouldn't be here. How did you end up here? What are you going to do when you get out of here? And I remember having a conversation in my cell. There's about 10 of us in this cell, and saying when we got out, what we were going to do. And being blown away at some of the guys that were older than me. I'm 22, 21 at the time, and just being okay with these older guys not having a plan. Like, they're going to go out and they're going to still use drugs. They're going to go out and they're going to still rob people. They're going to go out and they're going to still sell drugs. They're going to go out and they're just going to keep living off women, like not having any plan. And that just kind of was an eye opener. Like, this is even more like this ain't for you. Like
Right.
you have, God has given you ability to see this and understand this and navigate your way out. You better do something with this. And I say by the grace of God, he got me out of that because I was looking at attempted murder charges, armed with intent, carrying weapons, firing weapon in the city limits, took it to trial because I didn't think I was guilty of all those things, even though they tried to plea bargain with me, and just being found guilty of carrying weapons within city limits and discharging a firearm within city limits. But the second one did carry a felony charge with it. But I say the grace of God because when I went before the judge to get sentenced, and still being a little bit of a 21, 22-year-old knucklehead, bruh, I went to my sentencing not in a suit and tie, not even in dress pants and a dress shirt, but I wore every piece of Raiders gear I could find. So this is the 80s. Everybody knew what the Raiders stood for back then. I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking Raiders hat, Raiders overalls, Raiders t-shirt, Raiders everything. And the judge looked at me and said, I don't know if you're cocky or just stupid, but young man, I'm not going to send you to prison. I'm going to send you to the residential correctional facility, and I'm going to give you 5 to 10 years probation because I think you're just confused right now. Where I was probably begging at that moment to go the other direction still, God looked out for me.
What was it like once you went to that residential facility? Did you have that change in mindset saying, I'll never find myself in this kind of predicament? Or is that something that happened once you left the facility?
No, it was on my way there. So when I got sentenced, the biggest thing that I always remember was my mom crying in the courtroom. And so again, hip hop kid of the 80s, but I was more Public Enemy, KRS-One, X-Clan, Brand Nubian, very conscious rappers. So the image that kept going through my mind, also Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X was like my heroes. I'm sitting here about to get sentenced and sent away, and my mom is crying. And bruh, the only thing that went through my brain, Terry, was this is the slave trade. I'm putting my mom back in a time and an era where black women couldn't do anything when their kids were being sent off. And I said, I will never do this to my mom who raised me on her own for almost my whole life and sacrificed and worked 2 jobs and did everything she could. Like, I knew then this was over. Like, I would never go back to do anything like that again. So getting to the halfway house, it was already tunnel vision of I'm gonna get 2 jobs. I'm also going to night class. So I'm only sleeping in this place because at 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm getting up, going to one job, going to the next job. 6 o'clock every night, I'm going to night classes till 10 o'clock or 10:30. It was a mission. It was just a driven mission from that point because of that scene playing out in my head when I got sentenced.
That's a lot to be said for somebody your age, because to have that level of consciousness, and again, that's something that a lot of times gets overlooked when it comes to hip hop. Because a
Yes,
lot of the things that X Clan and KRS-One brought to our attention through music, they wasn't teaching that in the school. They wasn't teaching about
exactly.
Marcus Garvey. They weren't talking to us about Malcolm X. And it prompted us to say, man, wait a minute, there's other people other than Martin Luther King that speaks to our history, that speaks to our existence in this country. And you gravitated to that. And I will say, sad but unfortunately true, hip hop as we know it today is not the smorgasbord of art that it was in the mid to late 80s. If you wanted to have something that was militant in nature, you had this music. If you wanted party records, you had this group. You had this. If you wanted conscious rap, you had that group. Now that it seems like everything sounds the same. But
Exactly.
but with all that being said, it poured into your consciousness. So then when you made it back to the community, what was your first step in the right direction once you got out of that facility?
So I started working at our local YMCA. I started working with the school system here, being a paraeducator. A man by the name of Jerry Patterson, who was a rec director at our YMCA, kind of took me back under his wing for a second time as an adult, as he did when I was a kid, and got me tapped into just working with youth and coaching. And I knew that was my passion. So after I finished up my degree, me and some friends were just sitting around late 90s. I want to say it's probably 99, 2000, trying to figure out how we could help our community, how we could stop some of the young brothers in particular from getting sent off to juvenile camps, going to jail, getting hooked on drugs, on their lives away. And so we just started doing basketball camps, football camps, wrestling camps, and formed APHIS, which is Athletics for Education and Success. I'm a nonprofit that I founded and now I'm the CEO of. And it's in its infancy, we had no grandiose ideas. We just thought we should be doing something. And having all a sports background, it was sports that we just started doing these camps. But it grew because we're doing camps and the kids say we want a team. Now we're doing a basketball team, a football team, a baseball team. Well, now we got 3 or 4 teams, but they're still getting bad grades and they're getting kicked out of schools. Let's start an after school program. But we only want to do 5th and 6th grade. Well, we didn't think, again, not having that big picture, a 5th and 6th grade kid might have to babysit a 1st or 2nd grader. So now they got to bring their 1st, 2nd, 3rd graders along with them to this program. Or they got a 7th, 8th grade brother or sister that comes down and puts the guilt trip on me. Chuck, because I'm in 7th grade, I can throw my life away and I can't come to your program. All right, bro, you can come in too. We soon are 1st through 8th grade in a space that holds 30 kids, and we're getting 60, 70 a day, that we outgrew that very quickly and moved into another space that we leased from 2004 to 2010. But then in 2010, that came up for sale. I would think that's the first time we really started being strategic in what APHIS could become and what we could do. And we bought an old elementary school building here in Fort Dodge that the school system was getting rid of, 30 classrooms, about a half acre of green space outside of it. And we were able to get it. And our dream was building our own gymnasium or rec center. So as soon as we bought that 10, we started building and fundraising for that rec center. And it took us about 3 years to fundraise the money that we needed. And in 2016, we finished a $1.8 million Martin Luther King Rec Center that we also call home now. And so everything just guided by God more than anything, man, to get us where we needed to be to do all the great things we do today in the community with sports, but also after school programs, summer programs, community Christmas programs, youth diversion, mentoring programs, in-school mentoring programs, food banks. We do pop-up food pantries on the weekends where we just load our gym with food and hygiene products and diapers and soap, deodorant, toilet paper, you name it. And the community comes in and you take what you need. If you got a family of 5 and you need a lot more than a family of 1, hey, you need 10 things of hamburger meat, you take 10. You need some diapers, you take some diapers. You need some toilet paper, some toothpaste. God has just really guided us over these last 25 years to put us in a position now where we've got our own fleet of vehicles, so kids that need a ride. Me and you were talking before it came on that sometimes we didn't even know where the playing field was.
Right.
So not that the playing field wasn't equal, how did we get there? But we knew when we started we got to have transportation. So we've got 4 15-passenger vans, 3 minivans. We pick kids up, we bring them to the program. They need a ride home, we give them a ride home. It's just been a wild but great journey to get where we are today from a knucklehead sitting in jail trying to figure out how he got here.
Thinking about starting your own business? Make it real with Shopify, the all-in-one platform trusted by millions to sell online and in person, whether it's merch, art, or digital goods. Shopify gives you the tools to build, grow, and succeed. And here's the best part. When you sign up using the affiliate link in our show notes, you're supporting Prepare For Takeoff and starting your business off right. Click the link and start your free trial today. When we talk about what base you were born on, not only were we not born on third base, we didn't even know where the ball field was. And once we found out where the ball field was, we needed to get a ride.
Yeah.
And then we had to understand the sport that they were playing.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, sad but unfortunately true, it weren't those male role models in the home to teach you the sport of life as a man. So as a little boy, you had to figure it out. And the other kids who had the good fortune of having that strong male role model in the household, not only did he have the good fortune of being taught the sport, but because of how well his father may have played the sport,
Yes.
he was able to just take his father's place. Hey, son, I started my journey at home plate and I stopped it on second base. So now I'm setting you up to start on second base and sometimes third. And there's only one more place to get to, which is home.
Yeah.
So I'm just amazed when I hear people's stories such as yours that you're like, man, I was a dude that I could have went another way. I was in jail at an early age where that could have been the first of many stops in front of a judge. And if that judge didn't give me grace and mercy and see something in me, and I'm certain that the story that can be told now about Charles Clayton, who I'm sure many call Chuck, is like, man, I remember when Chuck was outside. Chuck was outside for real. He was on the court, but then he was outside doing all kinds of knucklehead things, could have threw his life away. And he didn't say, okay, I escaped my circumstances, so let me leave my neighborhood behind. He poured back into his neighborhood so that there won't be another Charles. It won't be another Chuck. Even though it's the same person. And like, I don't want you to go down that path. I want you to become Mr. Clayton. I want you to become the man that you see today. And if you don't have a role model at home, let me be that role model. Let my peers and contemporaries be that role model. And to the point of which I understand now you guys have such high praise with the courts, where if a kid gets in trouble, rather than them putting the wristlets on them saying, we're going to send you to juvenile lockup, they just hand them over to you. Did I do that justice on like what you know your reality to be with some of these kids that find themselves on the wrong side of the law?
I'm that last stop that some of my other staff can interact with you, the school district. But if you're out of pocket and the school district needs to call someone, they don't want them to call me. If they do get in trouble with the law, but it's a misdemeanor, we've got a county-wide juvenile diversion program that for a misdemeanor, stealing a candy bar, stealing a bike, getting into a fist fight, you shouldn't have to be traumatized, handcuffed, and put in the back of a police car. They can just get referred to our program and we can figure out what we need to do. It may be a consequence, or it could be they need some food in the home. They're all sleeping on the floor. We have a bed program. We need to get these kids some beds. They need an after school or a summer program. Hey, this kid's high energy. We need to get him in football, basketball, or wrestling. Hey, this young lady don't have a role model. So we can kind of figure out what their programming needs to be, but also being that role model for them. Like I tell a lot of kids, especially that come through our basketball program, that after being coached by me, I don't want you to be that kid that goes up to college and like the coach yelled at me, so I quit. You should be able to laugh and say, Chuck yelled twice as much as that. I'm graduating college. I'm finishing this season because this is not a big deal because we're getting kids now. We've been around long enough that some of them went through our program and now they have kids of their own and they can't wait to have them come get that structure that APHIS offers, get that tough love that APHIS offers. Yesterday, I got an email from a young lady that's getting a D in school in one of her classes. We've got APHIS basketball starting in a month. You're not traveling with me if you got a D. It's not an option. Me and her had a nice conversation, and then my mentoring coordinator had a nice conversation about you need to get that D up by Friday, or I'm going to be at the school on Friday in front of all your peers. You don't want that. You don't.
Right. Right.
But
So
but it's love. It's really love, bro. Because if that same kid joins basketball and they don't have the right pair of kicks, we ain't gonna have you out there looking bad. We're gonna go buy you a new pair of tennis shoes. You don't have a ride home, we giving you a ride home. We go to a tournament a state away, an hour away, 3 states away. You don't have food in your money in your pocket for food. Here's $50, $100 you can eat for the day or for the weekend. So
mm,
I'm an old school tough love approach.
what are some of the biggest challenges that you are faced with when you're dealing with that kid when he first transitions into your program? What are some of those hurdles that you have to go through?
Not believing the labels would be the number one thing because we get referred a lot of kids that were maybe labeled bad kids because they are acting a fool in school or maybe kicked out of another daycare or juvenile court or DHS maybe has had interactions with them or even the parents themselves. And getting to know and build that relationship with that kid before you believe all the labels that's thrown on them. And the other big hurdle is parents sometimes don't want to get out of the way, bro. Like sometimes it's just let us do our thing. Let us love your kid. Let us pour into your kid. Let us hold your kid accountable when they need to make sure they're going to be successful in life and don't fight the process. Like parents, we're here to help you. You need almost anything for your home. APHIS probably is going to step up and try to help. But when Tony goes to school and cuts out the principals and breaks the window, he's going to hear my voice and he's going to have a consequence from us. And if now that means you want to pick up the phone and yell and cuss me out and tell me that ain't my role, we're not gonna have a good relationship then.
Mm.
Like that's not gonna that don't fly at APHIS. Like, we are here for you, but this ain't a free ride. Your kid's gonna have some expectations and some boundaries, and I expect your full cooperation as a parent after we didn't let them come to after school and summer programs for free and play basketball and football for free and bought them some shoes and fed them and took them up and down the highway for free. We gonna say something when he gets or she gets out of pocket because we love them. Like, you can't fight us on that. That would be the two biggest things is don't believe the labels and the parents putting up resistance in this day and age because they don't want nobody yelling at their baby. Don't you yell at my baby. You got to build resiliency in kids. And when you don't allow anyone or anything to be a consequence, your kid never has to learn how to be resilient. Now they are in front of a judge and they don't know how to respond. Now they are in front of someone that's trying to tell them, let's go make this life altering decision that's going to land both of us dead or in prison. And they don't know how to stand up to resiliency. Like, we have to build that skill. That isn't something everybody's born with. We are putting up more bridges and roadblocks and speed bumps when we don't allow that sometimes.
Success and failure, they're both contagious.
Yeah.
And if you have somebody who comes from a generation of failure, there's a higher likelihood they're going to fail. But if we can start in our generation preparing people for success, then there's a greater chance that their children are going to succeed and their children's children are going to succeed. And if that can start with our generation, then I think we're doing our part.
I've got 3 sons, and that's kind of how I raised them, with the mentality that I have to set the bar higher for them than it was set for me. Like, my job is to make sure that they're further along than I was at whatever age or stage they are in their career. So by the time they were 9th grade, they had to be further ahead than I was in 9th grade. By the time they graduated high school, by the time they got to college, it's like pushing that bar a little bit further. And you also mentioned just reaching back. Like, I couldn't imagine not trying to reach back and help young kids not make the same mistakes I made, because I got the blueprint for failure. I know how to fail. So it's like I would be foolish not to show someone how to not fail when I see them taking the same road, the same path, using the same blueprint that I did. Like, those are the same things I did in class in 5th grade. Those are the same things I did in the community. It's the same way I acted when I went out in public. That was the same. Like, I couldn't imagine not trying to stop young people from making those same foolish mistakes.
Then what ends up happening, those people that don't want to concern themselves with what's going on in the neighborhood, and they say, you know what, I'm going to let them handle that on their own. And then when you're a victim of circumstances, then, well, listen, man, maybe if that brother had a father figure, maybe if he had an uncle, maybe if there were resources in his community, maybe he wouldn't feel so desperate to the point where he's got to try to break into your car. He's got to do this, do that. We're not trying to justify that behavior, but it's just a natural fact, man. Like, if someone has limited resources, they have limited opportunities, and they're going to make desperate decisions. And what we can do as older men now in the community, we're in our 50s, how can we lead by example? How can we let these kids see that, look, man, I see you. If no one else sees you, I see you. Because here's the deal, Charles. If we don't see him, you know who's going to see him? The dude on the corner.
Exactly.
The dude, because now they're going to be using these kids as part of their path of destruction. And what they're going to do is, like, what better way to keep myself out of harm's way than to put somebody else out there? And what they're going to do the same things we're describing, except they're going to do it in a negative capacity. I'm going to pour into a little man. You need some sneakers? I got you. You need a little bit of money? I got you. But listen, that's going to come with some kind of return on my investment. Now I need you to look out. I need you to take this here. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. And to your earlier point, if you can respond to that and the consequences that come with that, then you're going to respond to the consequences that come with me buying you some sneakers. It's going to come with me pouring into you at the after school program. Like, you ain't going to run over me and you ain't going to disrespect me, because you ain't trying to disrespect my man on the block, and you ain't going to disrespect me, as well.
Exactly. Because again, the skill is there to be able to handle that kind of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
We just lower the bar and say, well, they can't do it or we don't want them to do it. But it's just like, That doesn't fly. Like my expectation is for you to succeed in life, even if you got to hate me in the process. I use that with kids all the time. I don't care when you walk across that stage and you graduate, if you look out in the crowd and say, I love you, Chuck, you can say, I still hate that guy sitting up there, but you walked across that stage. So that's all that matters.
And we have to show them examples of people like, man, I was just like you. I was outside just like you. I could have been so many other places, but if it wasn't for God's grace and mercy, I find myself here. And that's why I'm dedicated to saving people like you. And that's something that kids can relate to. And more importantly, kids have they have a level of intuition to the point where they know who's pouring into them. They know who is trying to build an authentic relationship with them. So they may not like you, but they can appreciate you with your level of authenticity. You're no nonsense. And one of the things that I say, Chuck, when you're dealing with young people, especially with young people who are wayward in nature based on their circumstances, you're better off being black and white than gray. Gray can be exploited.
Yes.
Black and white is hot or cold, we up or down. And they can relate to that.
I also coach high school basketball, and I always tell kids, you'll never say you didn't understand what I meant. So it's just like if I tell you this is the play or that we're running or we're doing a drill, you can never turn around and say, I thought you meant something else, because I'm a very direct and clear black and white speaker. I don't have a lot of gray when I give directions and I talk to people. It's like, this is how it is, exclamation mark. There's no question marks when I talk. I'm 100% with you that you're better off with young people being black and white. Don't leave a lot to gray areas, because as young people, we thrive on gray areas. We're looking for the gray areas. We are searching out that gray area because we think we know everything at that young age when we don't.
This episode of Prepare for Takeoff is brought to you in part by Riverside, the platform that I trust to record studio quality podcasts right from my laptop. With Riverside, I get crystal clear audio and 4K video. Plus, it's super easy to use. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, Riverside helps your podcast sound amazing. Try it out for yourself. Click the affiliate link in our show notes and start recording like a pro with Riverside. As we close out, I want to give you the opportunity to share with our viewers and listeners 3 things that you feel will help them prepare for takeoff.
So number one thing, I always tell people, don't burn bridges. You never know who you are arguing with today, putting aside, shunning, canceling even, that you may need later on in your journey, or even if you don't need them, someone in your family or your close circle may need them and you just shut that off. Number 2, I would say, is read. I know that's an old cliche, but I think one of the reasons that I've been successful is that I'm still an avid reader, or now it's more ebooks than reading it. But find something that you want to know, that you want to learn about, and read, people. That's young people, old people. You're never too old to stop being a learner. And the third part is take every moment and chance you can now to give everybody in your life to still living their flowers now. It's not only for them, it's also good for you to fill your own bucket that way sometimes, because I think a lot of us get so busy, we forget about little ways to fill our own bucket and do things for ourselves. So giving other their flowers will also help you fill your bucket sometimes and ground you and help you know kind of what's important in life.
I'm sure that everybody, they're going to want to get more of this good game you're delivering on the podcast. How can they find you on social media, website, email? What's the best way to follow up with you if they, see fit to do so?
So our website is AFES, and that's Apple, Frank, Edward, Sam, APHIS, 4kids, the number 4kids.org. You can go to our website there and see kind of one of the things we're doing. There's even a video about my backstory there. And we've got a Facebook page, an APHIS Facebook page. We're on TikTok, we're on Snap. And if you're ever in Iowa, and if you're ever in Fort Dodge, Iowa, feel free to give us a call. I'd love to give people tours. We even can do some virtual tours if need be. I'm going to leave an email if you'd let me, and that's APHIS @gmail.com. So even if you want to hear more about us, or if anybody's moved to make a donation to the cause, feel free to shoot an email that way too. So Terry, brother, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. Let me tell my story and kind of reminisce down the old 80s and 90s lane with you a little bit on music and growing up in the hood and the black community, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for spending so much time with us, man. Your story is incredible. and much continued success to you and the whole APHIS team. And also, I wanted to thank our viewers and listeners. Whether you're watching us on YouTube or Spotify, or you're listening to us on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Audible, iHeart, or Pandora. As you know, every week we're going to continue to bring you proven professionals or rising entrepreneurs. And all of these conversations, just like this one, will help you prepare for takeoff. Chuck, thanks for joining us, my brother.
Thank you again. I appreciate it.